How's it going, everybody? This is Double Wide 6, and today I'm bringing you a little video on how to fix a weed whacker. This thing happens to be a Mac 2816. It's a McCulloch weed whacker. I actually got this thing, I guess you could say, free the other night. I had a neighbor right down the road that knows I do some small engine stuff. He gave me a call and he sold me that snow blower. It doesn't run, needs some carb work, he said. So I got that for 50 bucks, and he threw in this weed whacker. So I'm just going to take you through the process of what we have to do to get it running. So if you take a look at the spark plug, you can see I plugged in my tester, and basically what we're going to do is pull on it, and we're going to see if that lights up. It actually has a light bulb in there, so if it has spark, it should light up. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it with the camera. And it's lighting up. We definitely have spark, and judging by the amount of pull and force there, we definitely have compression. So I don't know much about the machine. All I know is it doesn't run, and I tried to start it. I probably pulled it 30-40 times and I couldn't even get it to pop. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the air filter. I'm going to replace all the fuel lines, the fuel filter, and we're going to clean out the carburetor and possibly replace some gaskets. So that's what this video will be about. Alright, so before we start any work, I'm going to drain the fuel out of here. And all the fuel lines really feel stiff. So I think this thing's been sitting a while. And if you look at that gas, it is mixed fuel, but that looks pretty terrible. So this here is a little hook. It's just a bent piece of wire. And what I'm going to do is reach in the tank, and I'm going to try and hook the fuel line with my hook, and we're going to try and pull out the fuel filter. So a little work, I can usually get them with the hook. Oh, I got the fuel line, but it's a little bit stuck here. There we go. And as you can see, there's the fuel filter. A lot of times the fuel filter is your problem. They can just be clogged up. But I'm going to go through and clean the entire carburetor anyhow. So I've now loosened up the air filter box, and we're going to pull out the air filter. And I'm going to remove the two nuts inside there. That'll give you a better view of the carburetor. So there's just two 3/8 inch nuts. I'm going to pull these off. One, two, and that should give us better access to the carburetor so you guys can see what's going on. Alrighty guys, so the main fuel line, which includes the fuel filter here, this fuel line runs from the tank. It comes out of the tank and goes right up here to this top inlet. So I'm going to pop that off of there, and we're just going to carefully back the fuel line right out of the tank. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull our main fuel line right out of the tank, and if it breaks, it's okay, but you want to keep the ends. That way you'll know how long of a fuel line you need to make. So right there is both ends, so we'll need one piece that long, and also a new fuel filter. The next fuel line that we're going to address goes from right here, and you can see how brittle this stuff is, and that goes into the fuel tank, and when it comes out of the fuel tank, it ties onto the primer bulb. It's going to go right on the bigger, longer inlet going into the primer. So we're going to replace that as well. And then finally, the last fuel line goes from the other primer outlet, and this goes up to the carburetor. and it goes right up near the high and low screws on the carburetor. So we're going to replace all these lines. Alright, before we replace the fuel lines, we're just going to slide the carburetor off of the mounting bolts. And underneath here there is a little cable for the throttle connected, and you can just carefully tilt the carburetor and it will come off. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our fuel line, and I've got some new fuel line. You'll notice I cut a very sharp angle on it, and that's just to get it started. We're going to slip it through the hole that it fits in, and I'm going to use some needle nose pliers and try and grab that end inside the tank. So with my I guess they're like a fisherman's pliers or something, type of thing like a dentist might use, or a doctor doing stitches. And we're going to grab that fuel line and carefully try and work it out. I got a hold of it, and these pliers work pretty well because they have a lock on the end of them. So we're just going to try and sneak this out of here. Once you get it going, it goes fairly easy. So we're going to pull it most of the way through, just like that. Alright, now on the end of this fuel line, we're going to cut it nice and square, just using a scissors, and we're going to put on a brand new fuel filter. So it's a little tight to get this thing on, so probably what I'm going to have to do is widen this with the screwdriver a bit. So I'm taking a Phillips head screwdriver and I'm just trying to widen this fuel line a little bit. And by opening the end like that, it should allow me to get my fuel filter at least started. So I have it started on there. Now I'm just going to take a pliers and snug it up. Now that the fuel line's attached, we could take the fuel filter and we could push it back into the tank, and we're going to hook up the top part to the carburetor after we clean it. The next, we're going to run our other fuel lines basically the same way. Alright folks, now we're just going to disassemble the carburetor. So I'm pulling out all the screws, moving the plates and the gaskets real carefully. I have some other videos on how to clean 2-cycle carburetors under my double wide 6 channel, so you guys can check that out. I'm now removing the low set screw. I already checked, and the low was out 1 turn. I like to check that and write that down. The high on this particular unit was out about 5.5 turns, so that leads me to believe someone was fiddling around with it. Generally, I like to start my carburetors about, I don't know, about 1 1/4, 1.5 turns out for both of the screws, and that should get your equipment at least started. Next, I'm going to remove the back part of the carburetor. There's 4 small screws here, and today to clean my carburetor I'll be using my ultrasonic cleaner. I find that works very well. It doesn't hurt the gaskets, and a couple of you guys have been asking me, what do I use in my ultrasonic cleaner? Sometimes I put some water-based degreaser in there, like Awesome Orange, and I like using just Dawn kitchen soap. That seems to really cut through the oil nice, and it's real gentle on all the gaskets and that type of stuff. We're going to pull this plate off And I'm going to try not to damage these gaskets. There we go. And you can see this diaphragm has a wrinkle in it, and usually if they have a wrinkle, I'll just replace them. It doesn't feel that stiff, but it's time for a new one. Alright, I'm pulling off the diaphragm. And usually diaphragm is really the only gasket that needs to be replaced a lot of times. And now I'm going to pull out our needle and seat, and you can see that this is all caked up with oil, so that's why I wasn't able to fire up the weed whacker. There's also a screen in here where your fuel comes into the carburetor, and if you just take a pick, you can carefully pop this screen out. There it comes. Don't lose this. If you use compressed air to blow out your carburetor, be careful that you don't lose the screen. So there's the screen. I like to clean that out and put it right in the ultrasonic cleaner, because sometimes that does get clogged up. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully remove this Phillips head screw in here, and this is what holds the needle in place. So I'm taking this out, and you want to be careful because there's a little spring in here, so you don't want that to get away from you. And there you go, we have the spring, the needle, the seat, the fulcrum, all that stuff came out together. So we'll clean everything here in the ultrasonic cleaner and then put it back together. Alrighty guys, we finished up with the carburetor cleaning. I replaced that one diaphragm that looked like it was pretty beat up, and we're ready to test this thing out. So I don't know, I probably have about 40 minutes or so in this thing as far as time, and that includes videotaping, which takes a little longer. So we'll see if it pays off. Right now you're going to see a true cold start. Alright, wish me luck. Well guys, unfortunately I wasn't able to get this weed whacker running, and sometimes that's the case. These carburetors have lots of small passages and sometimes you can't clean them. So if I'd replaced the carburetor, I'm sure this unit would work. It had good compression and good spark. But you know, this is kind of like par for the course. You can't always fix them, and sometimes you have to replace them.